Hello, today I would like to discuss with you my most meaningful item. While I was thinking what item is the most meaningful in my life, I thought there were many things that could be meaningful. But there was one thing that stuck out to me, and I'm going to explain to you why. The most meaningful item is an item that I wouldn't typically think of being meaningful, but after thinking about it deeper, I realized the importance that it has to my life and the meaning. So my meaningful item is my son's feeding tube. Today I'm going to discuss with you the history of the feeding tube, the different kinds, the reason why my son has a feeding tube, and the importance that it is to my life. So the feeding tube was first developed in the mid to late 1800s. At that point in time, it was disastrous, but they made rapid improvements to it. The first feeding tube was made out of whalebone covered in eel skin. That was an orogastric tube. That's one that goes down your mouth and stops at your stomach. In the early 1800s, the gastrotomy and jejunostomies were accidental. A gastronomy is the tube placed in the stomach, and the jejunostomy is placed in your the first part of your intestine. Later in the 1800s, it was invented that they meant to do those kind of procedures. So like I said, there's 4 different kinds. There's the one that goes in your stomach. There's one that is in the intestine. There's one that can go down the nose. And so the importance of the tube to me is that if my son wouldn't have had the tube placed when he was 1 day old, he wouldn't be able to sustain life. He was born a preemie, and because of a condition where his stomach and esophagus wasn't attached, they had to place a tube and feed him. When he was 4 months old, they tried bringing the 2 ends together to attach them, and they were unsuccessful. So they had to do a procedure to bring his stomach into his chest to attach it. And so he has a feeding tube that goes into his small intestine. And through the tube, he receives all of his food, all of his medications, and everything like that. That's why it's important to me. A scare that I had earlier this year is the tube came out. And the doctor over the phone had me place it into his intestine by myself at home at night. And I did it, and it was like empowering to know that I could do it. So at times, the feeding tube can be overwhelming, like it can be exhausting, but it also gives him what he needs so he can grow. And now at 6 years old, he still has a feeding tube. So that's why it's the most meaningful item that I have. Thanks.